Welcome back to Racing Direct, guys. Today we are jumping straight into the Oliver Bearman debate. Will he and should he be on the Formula 1 grid in 2025? Guys, make sure you are subscribed to Racing Direct. Hit that like button to stay up to date on all the current F1 news. Let's jump in to this Oliver Bearman topic. So, in case you needed any reminder, Oliver Bearman stepped in for the ill Carlos Sainz back in Jeddah and did a fantastic job in his first outing in a Formula 1 Grand Prix in the Ferrari. Of course, he only had one practice session before qualifying, put at P11, was just milliseconds away from knocking Lewis Hamilton out in Q2. Then the race rolls around. He was extremely racy right off the hop, was not afraid to battle, had great pace, held off the challenging Norris and Hamilton on soft tires. Then he held on for a P7 finish. Absolutely terrific. 6 points in the bag. Top 10 in the standings currently after 2 races. Oliver Bearman did a fantastic job. Now, of course, after a stellar performance like that from an 18-year-old in his very first Grand Prix, it raises the question, should he be in Formula 1 in the coming season? Now, of course, there are only 20 seats on the grid, so there are very few choices to choose from. However, with so many drivers being out of a contract for the next season, there are actually more opportunities than usual, and especially within the Ferrari stable. Now, obviously, Bearman is a product of the Ferrari Driving Academy, so of course they want to keep him in-house, and that means the 2 customer teams that are currently running Ferrari engines in Formula 1, that would be Sauber and Haas, both have 2 drivers on the payroll right now who will not have contracts at the end of the 2024 season. So where is Bearman likely to go if he secures a future in Formula 1 for 2025? We know that Sauber just left Alfa Romeo. That partnership is done. Of course, they are now strictly a customer privateer team, no manufacturer support at the moment. But we all know that Audi is joining the grid in 2026. They're going to be making their own power plant too. So it doesn't seem like that Ferrari connection is too strong at the moment. Of course, as already mentioned, Bottas and Joe are both out of contract at the end of 2024. But with that team shifting to Audi power plants and slowly but surely distancing themselves from Ferrari, I don't really see any Ferrari Driver Academy products going there in the current state. Haas, on the other hand, are sticking with Ferrari power plants unless anything changes between now and the end of this season. And of course, Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg are both out of contracts. Now, both of those drivers were signed when Gunther Steiner was in charge. Now, we don't really know if Ayo Komatsu is going to want to keep both of them on board. Maybe he wants to keep one, maybe he wants to dump both of them, or maybe he'll surprise everyone and re-sign both Hülkenberg and Magnussen for 2025. However, it's starting to look likely that they will want some fresh faces in there as they're clearly restructuring the team and want to go in a different direction and change the future. Honestly, Oliver Bearman would be a fantastic fit for Haas. Now, if you might be saying to yourself, yes, this was just one performance, who knows how he would do over the course of a full season? Well, if you just look at his Formula 2 track record and consider that he's only 18 years old and going into his second season of Formula 2, already has, I believe it's 4 wins and 3 pole positions to his name from 2023. This kid is electric, and obviously Ferrari believe in him. They believe it is only a matter of time until he gets into Formula 1, and it seems like he is more than ready to take on the task. Now, of course, he had the pole for the Jeddah Formula 2 race. Of course, he had to let that go when he got the call up from Ferrari to race in the Formula 1 Grand Prix, but you definitely can see the speed and the potential. This guy is a very, very good driver, and I believe he has a bright future ahead of him, and this is the right time to put him in a Formula 1 car. Now, of course, he's already been labeled as one of the main contenders for the Formula 2 championship this year. He'll be battling with the likes of another future potential world champion in Andrea Kimi Antonelli. So I don't even necessarily think that he needs to actually win the F2 championship. This little job interview that he got in Jeddah has already worked wonders for him. I think if he just shows that, yes, he can fight at the top of the standings down there, at least finish in the top 3, maybe even just the top 5 is all he really needs to secure that spot with Ferrari and just give that final bit of proof that, yes, I'm ready to take on the challenge. Put me in the Haas. Now, obviously, this is not the first of these circumstances in recent times where a driver is called up last minute to replace someone who's fallen ill or injured. Remember, Nick DeVries filled in for Alex Albon back in Monza in the Williams and did a fantastic job, finished in the points, and ultimately earned himself a seat at the AlphaTauri. Now, obviously, it unfortunately didn't really work out very well for DeVries. His driving style, he's very, very competitive and a very skilled driver, but his driving style just didn't really suit Formula 1 cars. And should also point out that AlphaTauri was absolutely dreadful when De Vries was driving it. However, Bearman is much younger than De Vries was when he got his chance in F1, and he's got a much higher ceiling, I believe, of course, coming out through that Ferrari Driver Academy. I strongly believe that Bearman does have a good future ahead of him in Formula 1, and this was not just a one-off performance. He can be a seriously competitive driver on the grid. And then we also need to look at the fact that if he goes on and wins the Formula 2 championship, of course they have that silly rule where you cannot compete in it again, and because there's only 20 seats in Formula 1, a lot of these Formula 2 champions end up just sitting on the sidelines for a full year. Sometimes they don't even make it into Formula 1. It honestly looks kind of bad in the sport that their main feeder series can't even guarantee you a seat if you win that championship. It's kind of ridiculous. Of course, we remember Oscar Piastri just absolutely dominated Formula 2 after dominating Formula 3. He should have been an absolute lock for a seat, but then he was forced to sit on the sidelines because there was just no room. Thankfully, it did end up working out for him in the end. He's killing it at McLaren now. But now we have the same situation with Theo Pourchaire. Of course, he is highly linked to a drive with Sauber next year. He was sort of Fred Vassar's golden boy. Definitely has ties with Sauber, and I believe he could end up in that team for 2025. But in terms of Oliver Bearman, even if he doesn't win the championship, I seriously think you're going to see him in one of the Haas cars in 2025. So guys, let me know what you think. Do you think Ollie Bearman is deserving of an F1 seat in 2025 after his stellar performance in Jeddah? And do you think it is the right call for Ferrari to get him in a car as soon as possible? Or do you think he should spend a year off on the sidelines and wait until 2026? Give me your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, don't forget to subscribe and like, and we'll see you next time on Racing Direct.